Welcome to Creative Anger. On today's show, we're going to be rebuilding a 4K ultra high definition video ingest and live streaming server. I can't believe I got that right. Cool. Alright, now that I'm kicking off this channel again, I've had to come up with new methods of capturing and ingesting video footage. An annoyance that I found is that my video ingest server doesn't work. Now that I'm starting to film again, I really need to get that system up and running to make my life a hell of a lot easier. When I film with the Blackmagic Ursa, it's great because everything's shot in Blackmagic RAW video format. I don't need to cross encode. I take it, there is an SSD reader sitting on the desk there, dump it in, copy it over the network attached storage, edit from there, done. I edit the raw footage that comes straight out of the camera. However, when I use my GH5, that's not the case. I need to copy the video footage off of the camera from an SD card onto a computer and then cross-convert that video footage to ProRes 422. Editing MPEG footage directly is abysmal. It never works out well. You're better off cross-encoding to a working file format like ProRes 422 or ProRes 422 HQ. That said, my ingest server also has an HDMI and an SDI capture card installed. The problem is, they don't work. Only one can work at a time, and they both can't be installed in the system at the same time, and it basically comes down to a bullshit glitch in the BIOS of this motherboard that I'm not going to get into it. I've been going back and forth with MSI about it, or at least attempting to, but they're not really very responsive. Anyway, my core plan is to take the motherboard and processor and RAM out of this system and swap it with the motherboard, processor, and RAM in the other system that's used for video ingest and live streaming. To live stream, I need an HDMI capture and an SDI capture. My primary camera only has SDI output, doesn't have HDMI. It is a cinema camera, and you don't usually see HDMI on cinema cameras. The big problem that I have with all of this is my main desktop is in a 4U chassis in that rack. So I first need to get the system powered down, out of that rack, and into the other room where my top-down bench is, so I can go ahead and disassemble the system. We're going to swap the hardware over from one to the other and see it all work. And hopefully at the end of this video, you'll be able to see that I was able to achieve a real-time live stream for the first time using this setup. Alright, so a little known fact about PC maintenance is you should turn your computer off before disassembling it. So I'm just going to go ahead, shut my computer down. And that's right, I just spent an hour setting up this shot with all of this lighting and the sound and the cameras and everything, just to tell you to turn the computer off. So now I need to take the height of both of my desks to their maximum height so I can move the rolling rack forward and have access to the rear of it. At that point I'll be able to slap a light in the back, grab the GH5 and show you how it's all hooked up. Once I disconnect it all, I'll grab the electric screwdriver and remove the server chassis from the rack. At that point, I'll bring it into the other room, move everything over there, and then we'll start the surgery. So first things first, what I want to show you is the rack itself. I have a Ubiquiti Unify USG Pro 4. I have a Ubiquiti... what is this thing? 16-port 10 gigabit switch, managed. This here is the desktop that we're going to be modifying. This is the network attached storage, and then these two are the battery backups for the whole system. Two other things exist in the rack that you can't really see right now. One is a Philips Hue hub, and in the back there's a Netgear, I believe it's a 24-port gigabit switch that I'm using just for general networking that doesn't need 10 gig. I'm gonna go ahead and wheel this out as best I can for the moment, and then get a camera in the back of this thing. You know, I just said all of these things, and this camera didn't record. So first things first, on this computer, you'll see on the far right a network card. That network card is the 10 gig network card that I use in this computer. The next card over, that has 3 connectors, 2 are DisplayPort and 1 is HDMI. That is the NVIDIA RTX 2080 Founders Edition. Next up, you'll see a gigabit Ethernet port there in the middle. Let's see if we can get it to focus. It doesn't feel like focusing. There we go. So you've got a gigabit Ethernet port, as well as 2 USB cables. Then off to the left, you've got 2 more USB cables and an IEC cord. Now, the reason I have a 1 gig Ethernet port that is active is for when I play video games, because for whatever reason, the 10 gig network port and video games do not get along well. Now, while you can't see it very well, this is the back of the network attached storage. All it is a single gigabit, it's a single 10 gig Ethernet port and a power cord. And that's it. That's all there is to this rack. The Netgear ProSafe switch is purely for around the house networking that doesn't require 10 gig. Okay, I guess I will move the mic again. While it's out, I'm gonna clean it up a bit. It is getting dusty. All right, now that this thing is out, we're gonna go ahead, bring it into the other room, move all the equipment over there, and we're gonna continue. Alright, so on to the next day. Everything just worked. I re-racked the systems, plugged them in, powered them on, didn't have to fight a single thing. I had to let Windows updates run on both machines, but that was it. This system is currently capturing both the HDMI and the SDI inputs simultaneously from both capture cards. My preview monitoring still works perfectly. I personally couldn't be happier. Now that everything's working, I can finally call this project both a success and complete. So on that note, if you liked this video, hit that like button. If you didn't, I'm sorry, let me know why. Communicate with me and I will do my best to improve in the future. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. I want to put out a lot of excellent content. Anyway guys, I need to move on to the next project. I really appreciate you. Have a good one.